how a song about a toxic plant made Tony Joe White a legend. Coming up on Rock Music History Lesson. Tony Joe White was an American singer-songwriter and guitarist born in Goodwill, Louisiana, and raised in Oak Grove, Louisiana. He was nicknamed the Swamp Fox and spoke with a distinctive Southern drawl. Tony Joe White was a great storyteller as well as a talented songwriter who created numerous successful tracks for various artists, like Rainy Night in Georgia, which became a major hit when recorded by Brooke Benton. White also made a significant contribution to Tina Turner's career, writing several songs for her 1989 album, Foreign Affair, including the title track, Steamy Windows, Undercover Agent for the Blues, and You Know Who Is Doing You Know What, as well as I've Got a Thing About You Baby for Elvis Presley. Of course, he's best known for his smash hit, Polk Salad Annie. So what's the story behind Polk Salad Annie, and is it a true story? The song tells the story of an underprivileged young woman who lived in the poorer part of town. To help feed herself and her family, she would regularly gather pokeweed, a wild plant, and cook it for their evening meal. Polk salad, or in the Deep South, pronounced poke, P-O-K-E, salad, S-A-L-L-E-T, is made from the leaves of the pokeweed plant. The line in the song that introduces us to poke, a plant that grows out in the woods and the fields, and it looks something like a turnip green. The actual plant can be fatal if not cooked properly. In an interview with American Songwriter magazine, White says, quote, "You can only eat the leaves if they're cooked right, and you can't eat the berries. They're poisonous. They don't get berries until later in the year. In the spring, it's big old green leaves with no berries, and you can eat it," unquote. White says he ate a bunch of it growing up on the cotton farm. He said he wanted to write about what he knows because he grew up eating polk salad. So, who is Annie? White told Songfacts, quote, "Annie could have been one or maybe 3 or 4 girls along that river because all the girls were kind of tomboys. They loved to fish, climb trees, shoot rifles, that kind of stuff," unquote. The line, "stealing watermelons off my truck patch," is a term in the South referring to a plot of land or garden. Tony Joe says many listeners thought polk salad was a code for marijuana. He says, quote, "The early days on the tour, we were out and it was a big hit, a lot of hippie festivals. Flower children and everybody, they would bring deep bags of grass back to the dressing room or back in my tent. We brought you a little polk. They all thought polk salad was marijuana. And I was like, that's not the kind I'm talking about. Anyway, everybody got it after a while," unquote. Elvis Presley was a big fan of the song Polk Salad Annie. He played it at many of his concerts. Elvis invited Tony Joe White, who was residing in Memphis, to come to Las Vegas by plane to watch the performances that would later become the On Stage album, recorded in February 1970. The invitation allowed White to witness firsthand the concerts that were recorded for this historic compilation. White recalls, quote, "They recorded it like 6, 7 nights in a row, so every night after the show, we would sit back in the dressing room and talk and hang out. He had an old acoustic guitar back there, and he would always get me to play an old blues lick or something. And then he would try to learn it. He loved the guitar, but he really didn't play it a lot. He treated me really good, though, every time I was around him," unquote. Tony Joe White shared a memorable story about his first encounter with Tina Turner. It began when Turner's manager Roger Davies discovered White's demo recordings and shared them with her. Turner was particularly drawn to Undercover Agent for the Blues and requested White's guitar skills for the recording. After flying to Los Angeles, White arrived while Turner was preparing for a TV commercial in the makeup room. When her manager Roger said, quote, "Tina, Tony Joe is here," unquote, Turner's reaction was unexpected. She burst into uncontrollable laughter. White, feeling somewhat uncomfortable, wondered if something was wrong with his appearance. Maybe he left his fly open. Finally composing herself, Turner approached White, put her arm around him, and explained her reaction. Quote, "I'm sorry for laughing, man, but after all these years of knowing your song Polk Salad Annie, I always assumed you were black." Unquote. This honest moment marked the beginning of their friendship. Their collaboration proved fruitful, with Turner recording 3 of White's songs: Undercover Agent for the Blues, Steamy Windows, and You Know Who Is Doing You Know What. Later that evening, around 10 p.m., Roger called White's hotel room with another request. Turner wanted him to play guitar on Foreign Affair in Paris. White agreed, ultimately contributing his guitar work to all 4 recordings. Polk Salad Annie climbed to number 8 on the Billboard Hot 100 in 1969 and was his only hit, but he released some other great songs like Roosevelt and Ira Lee, High Sheriff of Calhoun Parish, and he even tried to mix swamp rock with disco in 1980 with I Get Off on It. He released numerous albums throughout his career until his death on October 24, 2018. Tony Joe White was 75 years old. His son Jody stated that his father was not ill, he just suffered a heart attack. If you'd like to hear Polk Salad Annie by Tony Joe White, click the link in the description box. I'll also link Elvis's version. And you heard me mention a song by Tony Joe called High Sheriff of Calhoun Parish. Click that link, listen to it. It's a great story song. If you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button, like us, share us. Visit our website, rockmusichistorylesson.com. Thank you for supporting, and thank you for watching Rock Music History Lesson. I'm K.W. King.